The narcissist is someone who is stuck in pain. The interesting thing about the narcissist being stuck in pain is that the narcissist is actually someone who's very intelligent. Now, as a result of their intellect and their pain and brokenness, they become manipulative. They try to manipulate you and try to manipulate things to go their way. They're not conscious of it. It's not something that they're conscious of. So if you're a friend of their narcissist, if you're related to them, if you live with them, it doesn't matter what you do with that narcissist. As long as you're in proximity to their being, that pain perpetuates itself through you. And this is why you must run away and stay away from that narcissist as much as possible, unless you be digging your own grave. What's going on again, everyone? Welcome back to another episode. My name is Uche. If you're new here, please make sure to download, share with your friends and family. If you're watching on YouTube for the first time, also please make sure to download, share with your friends and family, and please do not forget to hit that bell notification so anytime I upload a video, you'll be the very first to be notified. Thank you so much and welcome. Today, let's talk about the narcissist. If you've been following me for a while, you probably noticed sometime last year, I released a couple of episodes talking about the narcissist, how to identify the narcissist, and why it is imperative for you to run and don't look back. Run as though your life depends on it, because truly your life depends on it. So today I want to elaborate on what I mean by run, why you must run, and how you must run. And before I get started, I do want to give a couple of disclaimers, just like I gave last year when I was doing those episodes. I'm not a licensed therapist. I'm not a psychologist. However, I am somebody who has been through a lot. I have had a lot of narcissistic encounters myself, and I've also perpetuated some of those narcissistic qualities myself as well. And like I mentioned on those episodes last year, a lot of psychologists would tell you that narcissism, at least narcissistic traits or qualities, is something that literally every human being possesses. The way I've described this is narcissism is some type of survival mechanism. It is a selfishness to a certain extent, and everyone is on a spectrum of selfishness. However, there is a threshold, and the narcissist passes that threshold, obviously, hence why they will be diagnosed with narcissistic personality disorder. So let me start by breaking down why narcissism is a thing to begin with. The problem is the ego. The ego is something that I've talked about on this channel multiple times, and if you're new here, I'm going to try to give like a quick crash course as to what the ego is. The ego, think about it as a foreign body, as a foreign entity, as a spirit. It lives in this realm of humanity, this realm of human being, or this human being realm. It only exists in this realm, though. It cannot exist beyond this realm. It only exists here. It's a foreign body, a foreign entity. I like to look at it from a biblical perspective. The Bible calls it Lucifer, Satan, the devil, and so on and so forth. But the biblical titles that I prefer to refer to the ego as is the serpent and the father of lies. This is also the same thing, the same entity that tempted Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And I'm going to be doing an episode breaking down the entirety of what transpired between the serpent and God and Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, and what it all represents. Of course, not from a literal perspective, but from a spiritual perspective. But the ego is the devil, to call it short. But I prefer to call it the ego because the ego is something that's more relatable. A lot of times when we use biblical terms like the devil, Satan, a lot of people, those things just get so lost in translation. But the ego is more so what I prefer to call it. But again, think of it as a foreign entity. It is not part of the human being, but it's still part of this reality. It rules here, just like the Bible said the devil has been cast out from heaven and has been cast into earth, and woe unto the inhabitants of the earth. And it is the chief of lies. It is the ruler of this realm. And is always walking around looking for who to devour. So the ego's main point, the ego's objective, number one objective, is to divide and conquer. It attaches itself to our intellect, which is our feminine energy, or the Eve. And then through our action, which is the Adam, the masculine energy, we act out that perversion. Again, I'm going to be doing a whole different episode breaking down that Garden of Eden and what that entails. So the ego attaches itself to your mind, and it causes you to sin. And sin here is deviation from the pattern, the good pattern that courses through your being. And I've mentioned this pattern on multiple episodes. I'm going to try to attach some links as to what that pattern entails. Goodness here doesn't mean, I'm not talking about the goodness that we've been taught in churches and taught in schools, pray and do your homework and donate money to homeless people. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about goodness from a more mathematical perspective, from a spiritual, deeper perspective. Again, I've broken this down on multiple episodes, and I'm going to try to attach some of those episodes on this particular episode so you can watch it and get caught up. But again, the ego attaches itself to your mind, your intellect, your feminine energy, and it tempts you to deviate from that pattern, that natural good pattern that courses through your being. Once you do that, once you deviate from that natural pattern that courses through your being, and also courses, the same pattern courses through everything else, right? But the exception is that humans have the ability to choose to align with that pattern or deviate from that pattern. Once you choose, after the devil or the ego has tempted you to deviate from that, once you do that, you sin and you create suffering. As a result, there is pain in the world. This is what a lot of philosophers will tell you is existential pain. There is pain. And this pain that is in the word manifests itself on so many different ways. The way it manifests itself in me is going to be different from the way, it may be different from the way it manifests in you. It may be different from the way it manifests in a woman or a man or a gay person, black person, so on and so forth. But the point is that there is pain in the world, right? Normal people, though, will try to navigate through that pain and try to make the best of life no matter what. You lean into that pain. Again, this is what I talked about when I made the episode on stoicism. You lean into that pain and try to navigate through it because it is what it is. Again, this life is temporary. At the end of the day, we die. We move back into the noumena of what exists, right? You lean into that pain, try to make the best out of it. Again, if you're a Christian, this is basically why Jesus came to show us the way. He was a man of sadness, misery, and pain, yet he leaned into it with grace and exuded peace. He came to show us the way, right? So this is basically what most people would do. The narcissist, unfortunately, gets stuck in that pain. And the thing about pain is that pain perpetuates itself, like misery loves company. The problem is not the narcissist itself, like the individual itself. It's the spirit that is inside of them, hence why they're stuck in that pain. The spirit that led them to get stuck in that pain. And as a result of that, they perpetuate their pain. It's sort of like a loop of perversion. And this is why you must stay away from the narcissist. Again, they're not necessarily in charge. It's the spirit that is in charge. Everything they touch becomes misery. They're not conscious of it. It's not something that they're conscious of. So if you're a friend of their narcissist, if you're related to them, if you live with them, it doesn't matter what you do with that narcissist. As long as you're in proximity to their being, that pain perpetuates itself through you. And this is why you must run away and stay away from that narcissist as much as possible, unless you be digging your own grave. Now, it is imperative that when you separate yourself from this narcissist, you must do it from a place of love. Love here does not mean like basically kissing ass, basically, for lack of better words. Love here is being intentional to not harbor judgment whatsoever. Because once you judge, once you look down on that narcissist, which a lot of people do, unfortunately, even I've been guilty of this, but trust me on this one, once you look down on that narcissist, once you judge that narcissist, you too are a victim of the ego. The ego is serpentine in nature. I prefer the terminology of the serpent, the biblical terminologies of the serpent and the father of lies. It is very cunning. It comes to everyone differently. The way it comes to you will be different from the way it comes to me, just like the way it came to Jesus. And literally everyone, no one is exempt from the temptation of the ego. It is what it is. It rules this world. It rules this realm. It's always looking to divide and conquer. Again, it even came to Jesus multiple times. But again, the way it will come to Jesus is going to be different from the way it comes to my neighbor. It's going to be different from the way it comes to me. It knows you and it knows what you're susceptible to. So you, the person who is perceiving these narcissistic qualities from whoever it is that, is a narcissist, the ego tries to attach itself to your mind to judge them. Do not judge them. You must fight that as much as possible. Fight that urge to judge them. Fight that urge to look down on them as much as possible. But it's also imperative that you separate yourself from that person. This is when it is imperative for you to love that person from a distance. If you don't have any ties to that person, I don't want to say cut someone off, but it's if your spirit is telling you to cut them off, but from a place of love. If it is someone that you have to deal with, minimize encounter as much as possible. Try to be as intentional as possible to minimize encounter. And always remember that what you're fighting is not human. What you're fighting is more spiritual, as a spirit, not the person. So do not harm that person. Do not add harm to that person. Do not cause that person harm, because once you do it, you fail automatically. You must be aware at all times that what you're fighting against is a spirit that person has let into them, the ego. Because again, you have to let the ego permission into you before it will cause you to sin. So yes, the narcissist is a person who has let that ego into them. Now they're stuck in that pain. Yes, they let that ego in, but at the same time, to you, the observer, it is important. It's important for you to understand that you cannot judge that person for that spirit, because it's the spirit, not the person. So again, to reiterate, the narcissist is someone who is stuck in pain. Again, this existential pain that I'm talking about, most people just lean into it and try to make the best out of it, but the narcissist is stuck there. The interesting thing about the narcissist being stuck in pain is that the narcissist is actually someone who's very intelligent. A lot of people who are stuck in pain will display depression, anxiety, even maybe suicidal ideations, but the narcissist is actually very intelligent. So now, as a result of their intellect and their pain and brokenness, they become manipulative. They try to manipulate you and try to manipulate things to go their way. But again, this is the workings of the ego. Again, it's a malevolent spirit, not them, that is working. It is the spirit that they let in because of their high intellect and their manipulative abilities. Again, they're not the ones in charge. It's an ancient demon that is inside of them. This is why you must run away. Trust me, because as long as you are in the life of that narcissist, pain and misery is all you will know, because it perpetuates itself through them. The only exception here is one, of course, unless you are a licensed therapist, because licensed therapists know how to deal with these kinds of people. There are people who are professionals. They've gone to school. They know how to identify that spirit, and they know what to do with it. Now, if you are not a licensed therapist, the only exception here is one, if you are someone who is confident. Two, if you're someone who is strong. Now, let me break down what confidence is and what confidence is not. Matter of fact, I've talked about this on one of my episodes, I believe 2 years ago. Confidence, a lot of people think they're confident, but what a lot of people are is actually conceited and arrogant, which is actually ego, okay? So those are not the people I'm talking about, right? Confidence here is stillness and being. A confident person is a person who understands, I am who I am, and it is what it is. I may not be the tallest, but it's okay. I may not be the smartest, it's okay. They are confident in their being. They are okay with who they are. There is insecurities, but they've made peace with those insecurities, and they are still. They exude peace with who they are. That is the true definition of confidence. And then secondly, you must be someone who is strong. Someone who is strong physically, mentally, and spiritually. The reason why you must be someone who's strong is because of how this demon works. This demon is going to try to break you in every way. Again, remember, its goal is to divide and conquer. So it's going to try to perpetuate that pain through the host, and so it can divide you and corrupt your spirit as well. You must be willing to fight it. You must be someone who is genuinely loving, genuinely unconditionally loving. Again, the problem is not the person, it's the demon that they've let in. So you must be someone who's loving enough, who is confident enough to love yourself for who you are unconditionally, and be able to love that person unconditionally for who they are. And you must exhibit a lot of strength physically, mentally, and spiritually. Again, if you are not a licensed therapist, if you are not somebody who is confident, and again, confidence is not cockiness, it's not conceit, it's not arrogance like a lot of people think they are, which actually those are workings of the ego. And if you're not somebody who's strong mentally, physically, and spiritually, you need to run and don't look back. And when you run, you must run without judgment. You must run with love. If not, you're also a victim of the ego as well. It's gotten to you, but in a different way. But the interesting thing about a person who's self-aware, confident, and strong is that by you being around that narcissist, in spite of all their mess, all the mess that they're perpetuating, all the things that they throw at you, again, it's not them, it's a malevolent spirit that lives within them. In spite of all of that, you still love them unconditionally. The interesting thing about this is that you can be the catalyst for them to turn things around. Because again, the narcissist is someone who's stuck in pain. A lot of times, a lot of them have a lot of deep-rooted insecurities. A lot of them feel like they're not loved enough, they're not seen enough, they're not wanted enough. Yet you are here. You're still loving them. You still respect them as a human being that they are, and you don't exude a lot of that negativity that they're used to getting from the rest of the world. You can be the catalyst to turn things around, for them to start looking in the mirror and holding themselves accountable, and then through you lighting them up. Because again, you are lit to yourself. You have that stillness in being. You can light them up, and once you light them up, there is no more room for that malevolent spirit. It will become easier for them to start holding themselves accountable and start looking in the mirror and start seeing that there is a malevolent spirit that is inside of them that they need to let go. Again, this could only work if you are a licensed therapist, if you're somebody who's mentally, physically, and spiritually strong, and if you're somebody who's truly confident, and also, of course, someone who is truly loving in oneself and also loving someone else unconditionally. If this is not you, please run. Run, run, run. Now, when you have become a catalyst for this person from a place of love, it is now up to them to choose to do something different. A lot of times it could take a long time. Sometimes it could take months. Sometimes it could take years for them to start holding themselves accountable. But eventually, with constant repetition of love and strength, being around you, a person who displays those qualities that I mentioned, they could start eventually dissipating a lot of that demonic entity if they choose. And if they do choose, you see that they'll start turning a new leaf. Now, of course, there are a whole bunch of other factors that can definitely be a catalyst to narcissists looking in the mirror and holding themselves accountable, which is very difficult to do. A lot of narcissists don't even know that they're narcissistic, and a lot of them don't like accountability. But there are certain other factors, apart from somebody who's loving, confident, and strong, being around them to light them up. There are other factors such as extreme pain, suffering, and misery that could trigger some type of liberation, to hold themselves, to start looking in the mirror. But that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. Again, today I wanted to come out here to talk about the narcissist and why you must run. Again, the narcissist is stuck in a place of pain and they don't know how to get over that pain. A lot of people who are stuck in pain, though, showcase signs of depression, anxiety, and maybe even society addiction. But the difference is the narcissist is not just stuck in pain, but they're also very intelligent and they use their intellect to deceive and manipulate. And as a result, they perpetuate their own pain, and truly because they don't know any better. And again, like I said, the problem is not the narcissist. The problem is the spirit, the ego that they have let into their lives. And if you're somebody who's not confident in your being and you know that you're not strong, it is imperative for you to run. Stay away from that narcissist, limit encounter as much as possible. And when you separate yourself from that narcissist, again, you must do it from a place of love, wishing them the best at all times. It should never come from a place of judgment, because once you judge a narcissist or a narcissistic quality, you too are equally guilty. You too are a victim of the ego. Again, the ego is the problem. If you are a licensed therapist or you're somebody who is spiritually, mentally, physically strong, and you are somebody who is self-aware, exude love and confidence, then you could be the catalyst to turn that person around. Please let me know what you guys think about this particular topic. Do you agree with me? Do you not agree with me? Have you been burned by a narcissist before? Have you yourself exhibited narcissistic qualities? Let me know. As always, I enjoy reading these comments and responding to some of you guys. And like I said, please do not forget to follow me, share with your friends and family. If you're watching on YouTube for the first time, please subscribe, share with your friends and family, and do not forget to hit that bell notification so anytime I upload a video, you'll be the very first to be notified. Follow me on Instagram at UC_images, Facebook, TikTok, LinkedIn, and Twitter at LTAU with Uche. My email is letstalkwithuche@gmail.com. If you have any suggestions, recommendations, please send me an email. Let me know. Anyway, that's it for today. Until next episode. Peace out.